Good morning, everybody. I've got the great privilege and honour of being the head of nursing for acute paediatrics and neonatology in NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. And a lesson that I've learned through this process is to stop behaving like the attention-seeking child and say, please miss, what about women and children's? Because that's how I find myself here. Rosalind introduced the Salford method to us and told us that they were looking at this for adult acute and mental health at that time, and I sort of sat there going, what about us, what about us? So I was then told that's a really good idea and you can now lead the development of the standards across the 3 boards, which has been a fantastic opportunity, and I've really enjoyed that experience in working with colleagues who I hadn't met before. And I think actually part of the success that we will see is a strength in the fact that we have been working together. I think it's been really helpful. I think it's helpful from my own personal experience in terms of my personal development. It's been really great to work with colleagues because I've learnt a lot from them. And I think it was pretty clever of the board nurse directors to come up with this cunning plan. So where are we in terms of what we've done in the paediatric neonatal and maternity work stream? We've spent quite a bit of time, and thank you to all of my colleagues who have been involved in this. We established a subgroup of the CAS steering group, but fairly quickly realised that we were not going to be doing this as a one group, and we needed to have a subgroup of the subgroup, 3 subgroups in fact, and we split into paediatric, neonatal and maternity. Very helpfully, and I suppose that was where it was probably quite beneficial that we hadn't started at the same time as our adult colleagues. They had broken the back of some of this in terms of beginning to kind of put the tartanise it a wee bit. So it was mentioned earlier about the fact that we were using leading better care as the focus in how we would frame the standards. And they'd already began to look at some of the mapping against some of the national agenda which were shared, whether you were in paediatrics, maternity, neonatal, adult or mental health, and indeed community. So we didn't exactly have a blank sheet of paper, which was really quite fortuitous. But nevertheless, we still had quite a wee bit of work to do, and we still have. And I think it's really important to kind of make sure and clarify that what people have on their table is in no way the finished item. Because again, one of the ways that we want to take this forward is, I suppose, much more engaging than in Salford. For those of you who were at the June event, and I managed to get myself a place on that with one of my senior charge nurses. But what we heard was the approach that it took in Salford, which was basically, I think, the Chief Executive and the Director of Nursing developed the standards, called all of the ward managers into a meeting on a Friday afternoon and were told, by the way, from Monday, this is what you will now be doing, this is your job, we expect you to lead on this, and you will also be monitored and measured against it. And the response from the ward managers who come up to speak to us was that they kind of looked at it and went, this will be easy, because this is what we do, won't be a problem. But then what they realised was they had a lack of consistency, and actually their ability to demonstrate that they did that for every patient, every single day, 365 days of the year, was pretty non-existent. So that was a bit of a shock to them. So clearly our intention was not to call you into a room on a Friday afternoon. We're not telling you that as of Monday you're going to start having to perform against these and demonstrate your consistency with those, but we actually want to make sure that we have it as a really engaging set of events and engaging between the 3 boards. Because the trick in this is about improvement. Because what we spend an awful lot of time is, and it's wasted time, and I think we realise that, is we spend an awful lot of time on what people don't do well, and we don't reward success, and we don't share success, and we don't learn from success. So the really fundamental change in this is about it's recognising what's good, and it's actually identifying what's not so good, and it's turning our attention to that in an improving way. So it's very much using a kind of carrot approach and not the stick, which is probably the culture that we've kind of got ourselves into. And I think that's one of the things that excites me most, is the culture change. I think Laura was fantastic, by the way. I think her presentation was excellent. And I think what she said is also what I heard from Rosalind, who I know went with Rosemary and Fiona to Salford. They talked about that immediate culture. They talked about, I think they went into the wrong building. Rosalind's story, if I remember the story, they went into the wrong building, but they were immediately met with somebody that says, "Can I help you?" Rosalind described to us about people with straight backs. Everybody had a straight back, everybody had a smile on their face. There was that immediate sense of pride wherever you walked in that hospital, and she was immediately struck by that. And I suppose for me, I reflected on as I walked round York Hill and some of the neonatal units, is that always what I see? It makes me try and stand a wee bit taller as well. So I'm much more reflective on how do I look when I'm walking around the clinical areas as well. So it was something that really struck a chord with me. And that's kind of what really excites me. I'm lucky because I'm going over to the new hospital shortly, and what I want is that every person that comes into that new hospital sees a nurse and an allied health professional and a doctor walking with a straight back, with a smile on their face, and immediately offering assistance and help, and actually recognising that that's needed. So, we've had our group up and running. We've developed the standards. Each of the 3 standards are probably at different places. Some might be a bit more evolved than others, but there's still much work to do. And I'm telling you that because I want you to be reassured that your input is still very much needed, and the success in getting us to the end point will be because of your involvement in that. So today for us, and apologies to folk from paediatrics, neonates and maternity, because you started early, you've heard me already and you're having to hear me again, and you're going to have to hear me at the end of this, so I'm really sorry about that, but actually you're also staying behind, because we weren't at the 6th of June event, and so there's a wee bit of catch up for us, and we want the fact that we've got you in the room, we want to use that and make the best of it, so apologies for that, but kind of just listening to and talking to people, I don't think you think that's much of a problem, because I think these are all pretty signed up to this, which is excellent. So we want to similarly to Anne, we want to get the standards to an end point. We then will be seeking areas to test the standards, because again that will iron out some issues I'm sure for us, and it would be my intention that we would want to do that early January 2015. Again, very selfishly, I see this as a fantastic way of leading us towards the new children's hospital in terms of we're going to be developing some new teams, and I think that this will help us do it. But we'll be looking to colleagues across Lanarkshire and Ayrshire and Arran to be involved in that testing as well. And again, I would be very keen that we have a kind of budding during that testing period as well. Each of the boards will set up their operational groups. So again, there will be maternity, neonatal and paediatric operational group. And these will be multidisciplinary groups. Because noticing that this is called CAS, it originally started as, I think it started as NAS. So that was nursing, and then it became WAS, that was ward, and then we realised this isn't just about acute and wards, this is about wherever care is delivered, so we changed it to CAS. But also the fundamental change was this isn't only about nursing. Yes, we will lead it, yes, we will drive it, as we do very often, but actually, again, the trick in this is its engagement with the whole clinical team, so it's the doctors and the allied professionals, it's the support systems, where would we be without our domestic services and our portering services. So each of the operational groups will be very multidisciplinary. And again, that's to try and influence their engagement, but it's also to acknowledge the importance and how crucial they are to us being able to deliver. So, this is who's been involved in, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but again, a tremendous amount of work, because people have had to do this on top of their day job, but we all kind of get it, and we're all very excited by it. We've talked about it's got leading better care dimensions. We've revised the standards, and again, we've tried to map them against some of the national strategies, because the trick in this, again, and you heard it from Laura and everybody else, this isn't in addition to anybody's job, this is our job. Whether it's my job, whether it's senior charge nurse, senior charge midwife, board nurse director, this is somebody said, I think it was Rosalind said, she calls it, this is the only game in town. This is the only bit that we need to focus on, because in doing that, we will deliver person-centred, safe and effective care. This was not me that said this, but this is nothing new. This was actually one of the ward matrons who came up from Salford, and she said there's nothing new. This is our job. This is what we should all be doing.